Thank you all for joining me and coming out this afternoon on such short notice. With me today, as you know, is the Lieutenant Governor, Jim Cawley, and Pennsylvania Emergency Management Director, Glenn Cannon. We're going to provide you with the latest information that we have on the potential effects of Hurricane Irene here in Pennsylvania. Earlier today, I sat through the 11 o'clock call with the National Weather Service. And later, I think it was 12:30, we sat through the call with the state emergency management bureaus, along with FEMA. And on that call was President Obama, and we were on video conference call talking to each other, reporting in as to what is going on in Pennsylvania, or excuse me, along the East Coast. Each state was reporting. We're also going to brief you on the efforts that we have made and are continuing to make as the storm progresses. First, I want to report on what we believe would be the severity of the storm. And this is based upon the reports that we received from the National Weather Service. We have another call with the National Weather Service scheduled at 5, I think, that we'll be sitting in on. And if it changes drastically in that period of time, we'll let you know. We do anticipate severe flooding not only in southeastern Pennsylvania, but there is a potential for severe flooding in Lehigh Valley, in northeastern Pennsylvania, and there is the potential for flooding in central Pennsylvania or portions of central Pennsylvania. I'm concerned in watching the media coverage of this, that while the storm is being taken seriously in southeastern Pennsylvania, that other regions of the state, particularly up in the Lehigh Valley and northeastern Pennsylvania, and here in central Pennsylvania, because they have not seen the rains and the winds yet, people may not be preparing as much as we would like to see them prepare for this event. And this event may not be just a 24-hour event when you include the flooding. We would ask you to advise your listeners and the people reading your newspaper stories that they can find a full list of helpful suggestions of how to get ready for this event and how to plan for an emergency by visiting the state's preparedness website, www.readypa.org. I would ask that you print that out. People who are watching this, print that out, have it ready, start using it if you don't already have an emergency plan. Our State Emergency Operations Center has been continually monitoring conditions statewide, in continuous contact with the various emergency operations centers in all the counties, in contact with many of the municipalities. And we are communicating with the other states and with federal officials on a regular basis to assess the conditions and coordinate any response necessary to support Pennsylvania's counties and municipalities in the affected area requires a constant flow of communication, and that's exactly what has been going on in this building really since yesterday. The latest weather forecast, and this would be the weather forecast of 11 with a little bit of an update at 2, predict that the eastern portion of the state will bear the brunt of the storm with heavy rains up to 10 inches. And strong wind gusts up to 60 miles per hour or more. That combination of wind and rain could result in flash flooding, clearly in downed trees and downed utility lines, which could obviously result in extensive power outages across the regions. Because the ground is already saturated, and because this storm is going to move up into New York, we can expect a good deal of flooding, particularly down along the Delaware River and its tributaries, because that Delaware River watershed extends up into New York, and the slower this storm goes, the more rain that's coming down from this storm than was originally predicted, could cause a great deal of volume of water to come through, not just during the course of while the storm is going on, but particularly following the storm. If you think about a drain, it's going to be draining through here. So the rivers may not crest until sometime on Tuesday or Wednesday, depending on what it is. So this isn't just a 24-hour event. Anyone who needs assistance should call their local municipal emergency management office in the blue pages. The way this works is the local municipalities react first, then the counties, and then the state. But we have, and Glenn Cannon's going to talk to you in a minute, we have pre-positioned many resources to assist throughout the affected or potentially affected areas. If you have an emergency, obviously, you can call 911. Motorists today can check road conditions on state roads by calling 511 or visiting www.511pa, all one word.com. The number is available 24 hours a day. It provides traffic delay warnings, weather forecasts, average traffic speeds on urban interstates, and access to more than 500 TV cameras. Regional Twitter alerts are also available on the 511PA website. Obviously, we want you to go to a safe place. The best thing to do for all of the people in the affected regions is to stay off the roads. Get to a safe location. If you're known to be in a floodplain, get out of the floodplain. I urge everyone to keep away from those low-lying areas and to heed the advice from the local authorities as you hear it. Keep your radio or keep your TV tuned to understand what's going on as the rains begin. We will be staying on the job. The men and women here at Pima are professionals. They're acting in a very professional capacity. I've been watching this. I've been here talking off and on yesterday and today. We will be staying here throughout the weekend here in Pennsylvania, here in Harrisburg, either here or down in at the governor's residence. And Lieutenant Governor will be here also. And we will be responding to the situation as it warrants. As I said, we're pre-positioning units at the of the Pennsylvania Army National Guard and the Swiftwater Rescue. And with that, I'd like Secretary or Director Cannon to give you an update, and we'll particularly use these monitors that we have. Glenn?
Great. One of the things that's occurred since this morning, okay, Ruthie, you want to back up just a second, is that our counties along this area continue to have additional impacts. The amount of hurricane winds on the eastern shore will be stronger, and that forces tropical storm force winds further out into the Commonwealth. If you could go ahead. What we've done, and as the governor explained to you, the local governments and the counties are responsible for the first response. But because of the concern of overwhelming resources at those local levels and some particular kinds of resources that are not in abundance on the eastern side of our state, we have pre-deployed state resources in a number of locations, and I want to go over that with you. We've brought 23 Swiftwater rescue teams from the western side of the state. We staged them in the Farm Show building, and now they have been forward deployed. 10 of them are going up here to Lackawanna County, where they will be deployed at the county EOC. 13 of them have been deployed down here to Montgomery County's fire school. Both of those groups will be in place by 6 p.m. this evening. Additionally, we activated what we call incident management teams. One of those has left our fire college in Lewistown and is being pre-deployed to Lackawanna. In Wayne County, there is a team called a rapid assessment team. When we have an area that may expect, where we expect there may be significant damage, we want to get in there quickly, take a quick look at the kind of resources that are needed. That's a rapid assessment team. That's being pre-deployed there, and the second one is being pre-deployed down into Delaware County.
Glenn, could you be a little more specific about the kind of people that are on a rapid assessment?
They're really two fellows in an SUV that can roll into the area. Their mission is to be the front end for the IMTs.
Scouts.
Okay, they travel together. So it's a matter of spreading our resources around and getting a quicker look at what's happening. Additionally, because Pennsylvania's federal Task Force 1 has been deployed for missions in New York City and Virginia, we have activated our state search and rescue elements which exist around the Commonwealth, and we've pulled them together, built around primarily what we call Strike Team 1, which has come out of Western Pennsylvania, and it is aligned with some resources from the South Central Task Force, and they are staged at the Farm Show vehicle or building as well. Additionally, we've put together 5 EMS task forces. An EMS task force has 5 ambulances with it and support vehicles and personnel. So those 25 ambulances, portable field hospital, a disaster mass casualty vehicle, and their support units are also pre-staged now at the Farm Show building. So we have made all of our counties aware in eastern and central Pennsylvania of the additional state resources that they have available to them to help their local first responders.
Let me stop you there for 1 minute. One of the reasons we're doing this is that they're here ahead of time. Instead of waiting until we see we need them, and then taking hours to get them here, because this has been going on all day as we speak, planned last night, operational today. We have them ready to go, and particularly those that are up in Lackawanna County and Montgomery County, they can react much more quickly. That is planning for the worst case scenario. Best case scenario, this turns into an exercise, and I hope it turns into an exercise.
These ambulances and strike teams, they will remain here in Harrisburg until like overnight till you see how.
Oh, yes, they will. The vehicles that have not been forward deployed that I just mentioned to you, the rest of them will remain in Harrisburg, ready to be deployed should we need them in another place. The search and rescue fellows do search and rescue. They also do building collapse. They also can initiate debris removal. They have lots of different things that they can handle. And they've brought all their gear with them, as well as marrying up with what we had here in South Central Pennsylvania. We also, can we go to the next slide? We also have pre-activated our National Guard. And when the governor signed our declaration of emergency yesterday, it allowed us to begin to pre-deploy National Guard resources. In Pennsylvania, the Guard has 3 rapid response task forces, north, south, and west. And so what we've done is we've activated the north and south task forces and 250 troops of the west, which will sit in support of these people. These people are now on station in the armories, ready to respond to calls. They don't have to try to get to their vehicles during the storm. They're already there. We've deployed high water vehicles, Humvees, and we're very fortunate in Pennsylvania. We have the only National Guard unit in the country that has a Stryker brigade. The Stryker brigade has very large vehicles. Those vehicles have been pre-deployed as well as a result of flood rescues and flood fighting. And so those are positioned around Pennsylvania on the east and the central. And we've also held all of our air assets related to rotary aircraft in the Commonwealth. There are 20 helicopters now at Fort Indiantown Gap. 10 of those helicopters have hoist capability, hoist lift capability, so that if we needed to be rescuing people from significant environmental problems, we can bring them out. So that is in place right now, ready to, actually, they'll be totally in place by 6 o'clock. Many of them are in place already. And so we've got 1,500 Guard troops standby, ready to go. We have all those civilian assets that are in place and ready to go. And what we didn't touch were all the local or county resources on the eastern and central part. They're there to do their normal day-to-day job. This is normally what this slide just shows you is the task force areas and where the armories are. Go ahead. One of the things we were concerned about was our health department took a look at hospitals and make sure that every hospital had their generators fueled, that their supplies were in place. We expect significant losses of power, all right, and so that's a particular concern. But one of the concerns we had was, what about our other dependent and special needs populations? So what we did was we looked at every nursing home, skilled nursing facility in a 100-year floodplain, and then we reached out to those. These dots indicate the nursing homes and the Department of Public Welfare facilities around the Commonwealth, so that we knew that each of them had prepared not only for the loss of power, but also, in fact, if they needed to be evacuated, so that those plans were all in place. And that's been done, and it's ready to go. Go ahead. Additionally, well, this just shows you where the swift water resources are in our state, and you can see that compared to western Pennsylvania, there's not a lot here, which is why we've brought those resources over, for one. And two, this side of our state's not going to be impacted. Just so you know, we did not strip the western side of our state. The city of Pittsburgh stayed home, and there's another Northwest Task Force up in these counties. If we have an incident over there, they will combine with the city of Pittsburgh and create another strike team for us. But we don't anticipate that to be a problem. And that's it, Governor.
Okay, questions?
Going to your first point about concern that outside of the Philadelphia area, people aren't tuned in, how far west should people be concerned?
Well, I would be concerned all the way, probably as far as Cambria County, depending on how the track of the storm is. You know, the ground's saturated. We've had a lot of rain in August. So it doesn't take a lot to have a flash flood. So obviously, people will be watching television. If they're down in low-lying areas, they ought to be concerned. and they ought to watch it. You see this this light green shaded area, if you look at your map, that demonstrates it goes right, pretty far over there. The mountains help, keeps the system on this side, but right now what's happening is there's more volume of water coming up because the storm is somewhat offshore. It's sucking the water right up and then as it swirls around, dumping it back down, and it's going to dump it back down on Pennsylvania.
Governor, what is the story with the Philadelphia airport now? Is it closed at this time, and how long do you anticipate the airport remaining?
In fact, I don't know. I haven't followed Philadelphia Airport.
I know SEPTA shut down.
Yeah.
I think the airports
I
are
think
shut
it's
down
closed
as well.
I would anticipate it being closed well through, once the storm is out of the way, the rains have stopped. They're going to have to check the runways to make sure there's no debris on the runways.
So all of SEPTA is shut down?
Yes.
That's right.
Bus and
Yes.
train watch.
That's exactly right. Okay.
One of the, if I could, the hurricane force winds track out now 90 miles from the center. The tropical storm force winds are now 290 miles out from the center.
Talk to the most about tornadoes.
And as it comes, you all know that the hurricanes have a counterclockwise rotation, which pushes the water up and creates the flooding situations here in the Delaware Bay, the Chesapeake Bay. And on top of that, there's also a high tide. But additionally, when people think about a Category 1 hurricane, they say, that's not real bad. It's Category 1. Well, the thing that the scale for hurricanes doesn't measure is the size of the storm, the precipitation intensity of the storm, and the third is the tornadic activity. And as you followed this storm up the coast, you've seen tornado warnings and watches being given as it comes. That's coming at us still. So we have to be aware not only of the effects of the hurricane, but the tornadoes spun off of the hurricane.
Okay.
Has the rain hit southeast PA yet?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. It's hit here a little bit. You just saw. I mean, these things come in bands. I walked in here about an hour ago. I was looking to the south. There's some pretty dark clouds to the south of Harrisburg right now. So.
You detailed the conference calls you were on earlier today. How's the coordination going with both the federal government and local government?
Well, there's a gentleman, Ed Smith, is from FEMA. He's here full time.
Yep.
He sits at the conference table. There is an officer of the Army who sits here full time also. So the coordination there has been going very well. The coordination with the counties. Glenn just got off a conference call an hour ago with the counties. They're regularly scheduled, so it's a constant line of communication. You can't be in constant communication because you have to go out and do your job, but they do it on a regular basis. As I said, at 5 o'clock there'll be another weather update, and it's more than just weather. They talk about the Mid-Atlantic region weather forecasters that look at the rivers, and they're the ones that are telling us they have great concern for the rivers, particularly in the Lehigh Valley in the northeastern part of the state, in addition to the southeast of flooding.
Governor, one of my reporter colleagues in Philadelphia was reporting that there were gas shortages in the Wilmington area in Delaware. Has there been any reports of automobile gas shortages in the Philadelphia area?
I've not heard any.
Not that have come into the EOC. They may have well been reported to Philadelphia's emergency center, but they have not had a need they felt they needed to come to us about.
Okay.
Mention New
People stay
Jersey.
off the roads. What time tonight should people try to bunker down, stay in when they're in the last minute?
It's getting ready to storm out there. Stay home. We don't want to tell everybody, this is a good night to stay home. Hopefully you're going to have the electricity to watch a movie, or Western Pennsylvania is going to be watching the Steelers tonight. But it's a good time to stay home and stay off the roads. In addition, I mean, as I said, we're worried about a lot of trees falling. You don't want to be out and get hit by a tree. They're going to be blocking roads. They're going to be knocking out electricity. And you don't want to be out in the way of emergency personnel responding to situations. I'll repeat what I've said before. If a local community orders an evacuation, follow that order. Do not put our men and women who are operating as first responders in the way. Don't put them in harm's way. Follow the order.
And if a person has an emergency, you said the first line of response was local?
Local.
Call 911.
Call 911. You-
One other point.
Yeah.
That you could do a turnaround, don't drown, flash floods.
No, you can hit.
One other point that we'd like to stress, and in your reporting, if you could stress it, there will be significant flash flooding as a result of this event. We have a slogan that we've been using that is turn around, don't drown. There was a tragedy in Pittsburgh last Friday. A young family in a van, a mom and 2 kids. There were 9 feet of water went over their car on an urban street at rush hour. So we're trying to really get the message out. Don't drive into water that you don't know what's there. There are sinkholes that occur. You may think it's small until you get to where the sinkhole is. Turn around and don't drown. If you could help us with that, that would be great.
And I would say we're in constant contact with the other states around us. We're talking to, I was talking earlier to Governor Christie, the conference calls that we have with the president, with FEMA, they're conducted on a regular basis. So there's a great deal of communication going on in this one.
If something particularly hazardous or dangerous would happen tonight, you'll put out some kind of a.
Sure.
at least an
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's gonna be a long 72 hours, I would think.
It will be.
Because I have to stress that when it does stop raining, it's not gonna stop flooding. Because it has to drain. Okay? Thank you, everybody.